All right, Caleb, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ben.
Thanks for making the time today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation and hearing what you've been up to since graduating Augustine Academy. So many, as you know, many students who come to Augustine Academy come from a homeschool background. You came from school. What did you find was I guess, yeah, the transition from being in presumably standard school system to the somewhat unconventional learning context of Augustine Academy?
Yeah, well, I think I'm somewhat unusual in the fact that I've had experience in a number of different school settings and in homeschooling. So I'd say I have a pretty good basis on which to judge the differences.
Hmm.
I think that in a school system, you're definitely given a lot of things to learn, but nothing I would say that really sparks passion.
Hmm.
Um, and in a homeschool background, you are given freedom to choose what you learn, but it is still, um, yeah, it is still kind of set what you have to achieve in a
Hmm.
given amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas Augustine was quite a new experience for me in the fact that it there was so much that sparked investigation
Hmm.
because of the nature of the course being kind of an introduction to liberal arts. Liberal arts have so much scope, so much variety, and you can listen to one thing and there will be so much academic literature on it.
Yeah.
So that's a very different style of learning because it aims to spark a drive for learning rather than um, rather than the school system, which is much more you get given what you have to learn on a plate and you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
regurgitate it.
yeah. That seems to be like a nice kind of extrapolation that you've no doubt heard the kind of saying that education ought to be the igniting of a flame rather than the filling up of a bucket, which
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. I think Augustine's achieved that, and
yeah,
it's not an easy thing to do.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Now it was a few years ago, but what one fond memory from your time at Augustine?
I've got a lot of fond memories from Augustine. I think probably one fond memory is walking out of my dorm room and getting hit with a bucket of iced water as I was heading to the shower
Oh,
because
nice.
some people were standing on the roof with a large bucket. Um,
Man, was it
yeah,
winter?
yeah,
Oh,
that it was very unpleasant, quite
man.
icy.
There you go. Non-voluntary ice bath therapy.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, ice bucket challenge even.
Yeah, yeah,
I also loved the whole drama. I think I was definitely a kid that hadn't had that much experience with drama,
yeah.
and kind of getting an opportunity to come out of my shell was really nice.
And you've gone from Augustine and very impressively jumped into it's a double degree you're tackling?
Yeah, so I'm tackling a Bachelor of Laws and Bachelor of Arts Western Civilization.
Yeah. So
Um,
what's like it's been probably, as you've said, a bit of a different school to Augustine. What about Augustine to ACU? Like what's that been? What's the differences? Has Augustine helped at all with what you're doing
yeah,
now?
Augustine was absolutely perfect. A lot of the students that come into the Ramsey program have achieved incredibly well academically,
Hmm.
but what I'm learning from my continued study in the liberal arts is that philosophy isn't necessarily a things to know. It's a mode of knowledge and it's a way of thinking,
Yeah.
and it's a way of thinking that school doesn't give you. So
Yeah.
I'd had a year of kind of incubation of these ideas.
Nice.
Um, and that gave me pretty much, yeah, head start over everybody else. So they might have done better academically, but I think Augustine would be the preparation of choice for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because it's certainly I can relate that in terms of when I was in my undergraduate, there was people who would like there's a difference between just having raw intellectual potential to uh I guess having inculcated the right attitude towards learning and I think it's Aristotle that says education is learning to love the right things and well, learning to love the right things isn't just learning to, love the acquisition of facts, but the methodology of inquiry, which you've touched upon, is crucial because if you're trying to learn because you've got a genuine curiosity of expanding the horizons of your knowledge, then that's something that's going to serve you and probably motivate you much more than some utilitarian attitude towards learning, which if you can't see the purpose to it, then motivation ceases. So yeah, but then another thing I'm very curious about because I think it's a lot just to be doing a degree in the humanities. It's inexhaustible, but I guess what I'm curious to know is how you finding it, not so much just the time management of it, but like psychologically, there's a vast difference between Western civilization, humanities subjects, and then you're doing a law degree, and they're quite different as far as I can tell. And so, how do you split your attention between such different assignments to different courses of study?
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of key differences, but I also think in a lot of key ways they're the same. In my legal theory class, it is technically a legal theory class, but we're learning about the ways in which philosophies have impacted development of the law.
Yeah,
Or in my politics class in my Western civilization degree, we learn about a lot of political figures that have been influenced by these ideas from the Western canon.
yeah, okay. So there
So
actually is some
there's
overlap.
there's there's some overlap, but I think um, Western civilization, you couldn't hope for a better um, knowledge of the impetus behind the law,
Yeah,
as opposed to the law itself.
yeah, okay. That's interesting. Okay, I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, there's points of connection. Yeah, and I mean, obviously in law you're looking at in a more explicit way concepts of pertaining to justice. And when you're looking at, like, I love the exploration of justice in Aeschylus's trilogy, the Oresteia, and he's looking at what is justice and what's the difference between justice and retribution and vengeance, and what's the difference between me just retaliating and the law punishing the wicked as opposed to me just taking the law into my own hands. And so there's those explorations. What is justice, which is made both with the Greek tragedies and then also obviously Plato and Aristotle are discussing the concepts of what justice is. Um, so
Yeah,
that's
Plato is in a courthouse when he discusses
yeah.
justice.
So that's a fascinating intersect of, like, you're looking at philosophic and literary explorations of the concept of what is justice, and then also the application of it in actually a concrete law degree. Wow. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That'd be, render you I guess, a more sophisticated and nuanced, person in any kind of law capacity than
Well, this is
just
if
that.
I choose to go down a degree in the law capacity. I think
Yeah.
that the arts degree has given me a lot of flexibility to pursue what I would like to in the future.
Yeah. And I would like to ask you a few questions of, what is on the horizon for you. But before we get to that, I'd love to just share briefly, like, you've had the chance to dig in Israel, study in Rome, and play your fiddle in France. And they're all like, what an adventure. Can you tell us a little bit about those three?
Those three. Israel, that was unbelievable. Well, Israel was off the back of an email that I got sent from the Ramsey program
Hmm.
because they'll send you a couple of emails a week, and some of them will be, an invitation to a library, which you can go to any day. But some of these emails will be incredible. So this email was, does anyone want a funded place to study archaeology in Israel, and it will count towards your degree?
Wow.
And there's a lot of support available. So I was able to get some support from the Friends of Hebrew University,
Yeah.
and I was able to get some support from ACU itself. But essentially, what I ended up doing was I spent a month on a dig site at a
Hmm.
place called Tel Lachish in Israel.
Hmm.
And during that month, I was helping with the archaeologists that were on site with a bunch of other archaeology students. And we would go and dig on the site for about 12 hours. And then we would come back and listen to a lecture.
Wow. That's unreal. What was it like to be, like, you obviously been familiar since infancy with the scriptures, and then suddenly you're actually in the place? I know that for me, I've never been to Israel. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I grew up on European literature, and then when I went to Europe, it was like, wow, like this is kind of bringing a new depth of appreciation to the text that I've been brought up on. What was it like getting to the place where you know, the Bible's action centers around?
I mean, obviously it's going to be incredible. I think the most impactful thing for me was the opportunity to go about my day living in the Holy Land. I
Hmm.
think so much of sightseeing, um, you can get kind of a pilgrimage mentality
Yeah.
towards seeing foreign places. And that can kind of overlay any awe you would experience at the place itself.
Yeah.
So I think it was obviously great to see all of the different sites in Israel, but the most impactful thing for me was the fact that when we drove to the dig site every morning, we actually drove through Armageddon.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, that experience has really stuck with me.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I'd love to hear more about that. But yeah, t tell us about like
Sorry.
you
Yeah,
no
about
no
Rome and France.
yeah. What was Rome? You weren't digging there, I assume.
No, no, unfortunately I wasn't. But a lot of people have. Rome was ACU is fortunate enough to have a campus, and it's on one of the seven hills of Rome.
Yeah.
Um, so ACU again was very helpful in helping fund that study experience. Um, and we did 1 month on the history of the city. So we kind of looked at um, from a phenomenological perspective, what a city is, or the being of a city. And I think Rome's kind of a perfect example of that because Rome is the eternal city and Rome has seen every possible facet of city. Um, all roads lead to Rome in that respect. Um, yeah, and that was a similar opportunity only possible with the Ramsey program.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
That's
All right.
unreal. Yeah, that's full on. To be honest, man, the opportunity to study about Rome's history is, I think, yeah, in itself, yeah, an exciting adventure and a privilege to be able to get there and see the place. That's must be you're studying in a way that really would, yeah, is bringing the disciplines to life. That's unreal. And then what led to, yeah, I remember talking to you and you're like, Ben, I'm in France. There's, international folk festival. Like, yeah, how did that happen?
Well, that's part of I do Celtic music.
Hmm.
It's something I'm very passionate about. And at festivals, you make friends, and one of these friends happened to be the representative for a festival called Festival Lorient Interceltique, which is a quite large music festival in France. And this festival gets delegates from each of the Celtic nations to represent them at the festival. So my band Out of Hand and I were privileged enough to represent Australia at the festival that year. And yeah, I think definitely in the scope of Celtic music, the viewership in France and in other places around the world is of a different scale to anything we get over here.
Yeah.
So on the opening weekend, um, there was apparently 500,000 people
Yeah. Wow.
um, come to the festival. So it's very much still in the culture
Wow.
um, to go to traditional music festivals.
Yeah. What an
Yeah.
opportunity. That's a wild opportunity. That's unbelievable. I'd love to hear again more. Like we talked about each one of these things for so long, but yeah, conscious of the time. Tell me what's on. Yeah, for Caleb, he's how long have you got left of your double degree?
Well, I've got the end of this year, and then I will have next year, and
Okay,
then I'll be free.
so you got what another year and a bit to complete. What's looming in the horizons of potential for Caleb after Rome, France, Israel? Where are things taking
Who
from
knows,
here?
man? I think if you do a lot of different things, it kind of makes it all the more difficult to choose one thing to lock down into.
100%.
Um, so I think, I'm working as a paralegal at the moment. That's 1 day a week. Um, and obviously a law degree will give me opportunities in the law sphere.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I am also interested in pursuing some kind of academia career in the future. I
yeah.
think I'm still in the process of discernment, Ben.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
So there's kind of nothing absolutely concrete on the horizon, just to hope that wherever I do go, it will be what God wants for me.
yeah. Well, with that, what God wants for you, that touches upon the last question that I wanted to ask you, which was, you, and again, please correct me if I'm going to get these, facts wrong. You came to Augustine Academy, and you came from a Christian family background. You graduated from Augustine, and during your early years at ACU, you've um, joined the Ukrainian Rite. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, now that's another journey. Like, yeah, I know that's a long story and it's kind of a big question, but like, how did that happen and why and what was it like for you?
Well, I was raised in a devoted Christian household. It was a Baptist of the Baptist tradition.
Yeah,
Um, and I hadn't had a whole lot of experience in straight apologetics. Um, so I think coming to Augustine, I was looking looking for a way to deepen my faith. Um, and I mean, I called all the other students pagans on day one, and by the end of the year, I was looking for a mass to go to in Sydney.
there you go.
So it's truth takes time to settle in, I think, and I think
Yeah,
exposure to the Catholic tradition took some time to seek in for me. So
yeah,
having said that, it's often said that um, people who convert from more charismatic backgrounds
yeah.
tend to go completely the opposite way into ultra traditionalist um, expressions of faith. And for the Ukrainian rite, they say the liturgy of John Chrysostom,
Hmm,
which is one of the oldest liturgies in the world, and they have a great translation into English. They have a beautiful Byzantine choir.
hmm.
So I was attracted to both the musical aspect and the history aspect. But I think the thing for me was going into that church, I had a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a while.
Yeah,
Um, and seeking out that peace led me to the Ukrainian rite.
that's beautiful, man. What a story. Yeah, from everything you've told me about the beautiful, and largely unchanged, liturgy of the Ukrainian Rite. It's like, yeah, I can see we'd have such a attraction to that, and that's, awesome as well. But yeah, you love your music. It's got, beautiful chanting there. It's wow. Okay, man. Well, that's a journey. You've got quite a story, and I'm sure that, the next 5 years will be equally as adventurous as the last five. And that's but that, yeah, thank you for sharing your story. There's a lot in there. Um, but well, I think we'll call that a wrap for now. And yeah, thanks so much. That's yeah, really appreciate what you've shared.
That's all right, Ben. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.